Hi folks, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm sitting here with Ashley Sholer, who's the marketing manager at Symantec for all of their global system integrators, which I would imagine is a pretty big business. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you, Ed.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, that's great. So you came to Symantec through, was it the SkyCure acquisition?
Yes.
Became part? Wow, how'd that go? That must have been fun.
So we got acquired a few months ago, and I did marketing as well as being a executive assistant there, and just made the transition over to global system integrators for the marketing for the Americas.
I would think that marketing in cybersecurity right now is probably pretty vibrant. A lot of people buying security solutions, huh?
Yes, and from every industry too, like financial, healthcare, education, government. So
yeah. So you went from a startup to a big monster company.
Yeah.
That must have been interesting, huh?
Yes, definitely in transition, but I'm happy to be there.
Well, I'm sure they're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Now let me ask you. You said global system integrators.
Correct.
I'm sure a lot of people watching aren't sure what that is. Are they? What are they doing? What are some example companies?
Sure. So they're some of our larger partners, and there are sell-through partners too. So some of them include like large financial services and technology, like Fujitsu or IBM, are two of our large partners. And I focus on the Americas, but most of them are international because we have NTT Data is a big one. So that's worldwide.
One thing I've noticed is that in the old days, security would be this thing that you'd add on, but now it seems like it is embedded into a solution. I would think the system integrators probably treat the Symantec products as one of the building blocks in there. Am I reading that right? It's probably a big... So that must make it, you must have to learn a little bit about the system integration business to sell there. Huh?
I do, and also, as you know, Symantec has a lot of product offerings. So it's definitely a big learning curve going from single product to multiple product, but it's nice. We have some ones that are our big sellers, like our DLP solution and our CASB solution.
How about mobility? That must be a pretty up-and-coming request from the groups. Huh?
It is, and if it's not a request, I push it. It's coming from SkyCure. Mobile threat defense is a huge thing because, as you know, we're on our iOS and Android devices constantly. And one of the frequent things I hear is, oh, I don't do business on my phone. I just do email. I'm like, work email? And people are like, yeah. I'm like, then you definitely need some type of mobile threat protection because what comes on your phone is not going to be enough.
Right, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
So within that mobility ecosystem, let me see if I get this right. There's probably some device issues. There's enterprise management issues. There's network. Tell me a little bit about it. I would imagine Symantec probably has solutions, at least through SkyCure, for all those different areas. What's the whole range of things that you get asked about?
Sure. So we get asked a lot about if there's a consumer offering, which there is not yet, but I'm sure in the future
consumer
there will be.
Mobility.
Yeah. And then for the enterprise one, if we do multiple fronts, which we do, so protect against like malware, malicious network, vulnerable networks, and if your device is physically taken, and like integrate with MDM and EMM, and so that's a common thing too. Is people think that MDM and MTD, mobile threat defense, is the same thing, which is not. And then also just mobility in general, because if you use that word, that also means laptops, right? It doesn't just mean iOS and Android devices. So I try to differentiate between mobile and mobility, because we absolutely have mobility solutions too, which would be our more SEP solutions, which protect like your desktop or laptop as well.
What about mobile apps? I would think that would be something people bring up all the time.
Right. Thank you for that. That is something that goes through SEP Mobile as well.
Makes sense.
Yes.
The cloud is something everybody talks about, big issue. What are some of the things that come up in your discussions with these big system integrators about cloud transition?
That is a big thing. That's one of the things that comes up the most that I've got over the 6 weeks in my new position. So our CASB solution, which came through the Blue Coat acquisition.
CASB being Cloud Access Security Broker.
Correct, yeah. Right. So that partners with our DLP solution, data loss prevention, which those together help protect against like stuff on your device as well as in the cloud. And so in motion as well as like static data, and that's a big thing. Is like people, once they send it off, they don't know where it goes, right? They don't know what's happening, and the stuff that comes in from someone else's cloud, we don't know where, like, what they're sending us. So Symantec has solutions that protect on both in and out, and once it's on your device too.
You know, it's probably a dumb question, but do you still run up against large integrators that maybe are a little bit less comfortable working in the cloud? Because a lot of the integrators are pretty legacy. They've been around a long time.
Yeah.
Probably have very set methodologies, set architectures. Do you ever find that there's some resistance to maybe moving to public cloud?
Resistance a little bit, but more just slow process of a lot of people that need to be educated on it. So I think everyone wants to do it because we know it's the way of the future, but it's a bigger learning curve than I think anticipated.
Yeah. I want to ask a couple of questions about you.
Yeah.
When I get on the subway every day, there's a big sign that says, hey, 30 million jobs, 3 million jobs in cybersecurity unfilled. So people are always asking me, how do you get into a job in cyber? Tell us your story. How'd you get into this cool job at Symantec?
So, as you mentioned, I came by way of the SkyCare acquisition, and I actually started as the executive assistant to our CEO and co-founder at the time, as well as the VP marketing and VP of sales as well.
They had very good marketing teams.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm still really close with everyone that I supported.
Right.
But I took that role because I wanted to get into the industry. And my dad actually was the first one that told me about cybersecurity. He's worked in it for years and years.
What's your dad do?
And now he's at Microsoft as an architect, but he owned his own consulting firm for a lot of years and did a lot of encryption and protection for healthcare and energy companies throughout the Pacific Northwest.
Right.
And so when I got the interview at SkyCare, I sent him the website and was like, you check this out, because being from the San Francisco Bay Area, I know about startups. And I'm like, it's like a crapshoot, right? So I had my dad look at it and he goes, you should work for them. He's like, I would if I could. So between like knowing a little bit about cybersecurity and thinking that mobile was like the next cool thing, I was able to convince them to hire me at SkyCare.
Tell me if this is right. So started by picking the right industry.
Yeah.
Then picking the right company.
Right.
Being a little less concerned with maybe what the entry position was, but more getting in.
Yeah.
And then you can steer your way toward, in your case, doing product marketing, which I think is what you really always wanted to do.
It is, thank you. And also throwing in either some type of advisor or a mentor in the process too, because cybersecurity in general is huge, right? It's like, what do you want to do within that? You can either go full product, or I would recommend finding like a little area of it and focusing on that.
Was there somebody other than your dad that helped you in your career?
In my career, yes, like the gentleman I support, especially Adi Sharbani and Varun Kohli, who you know.
Well.
Yeah, they were awesome. I really enjoyed being their EA, and their guidance was great. I know some people find it hard to have the person that you directly support be like your mentor too, but I do feel like Adi and Varun are. And then in the past, like, I cannot underestimate how much that my professors have and will like continue to influence me. Like I didn't study cybersecurity or anything in technology at all, but just like what they taught me about myself and like others, I constantly think about like what my professors have said to like keep me going.
Who were some of them?
I have an undergraduate degree in communication studies and a minor in Italian. Then my graduate degree is in dispute resolution from Pepperdine Law School.
Wow.
And I had professors at both of them, but especially my grad school program, there's one professor who, he was my advisor as well as taught peacekeeping and mediation.
Wow.
And so he was just telling me like, sometimes like when you get tired or the world tends to get you down, like do not sit in bed with the covers over your head, like get out and get stuff done. And I constantly am thinking about that. I'm like, Professor or Dr. Powell would not want me to do this.
That's funny. Is it possible to win a dispute, or is it best for everyone to kind of, like, there's never really win or loser? Am I thinking about that right?
You're thinking about that correct. And people use the word compromise, which I don't like. It's more of like a collaboration, like trying to come up with the best solution that doesn't make people feel like you gave up too much at the end of the day.
You probably do that with these system integrators, I'm guessing.
I do. I try to, definitely. that's one thing that I'm learning, continue to learn too, is how to interact with people differently. Like the way I talk to one person doesn't always work for the next person.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
when you work at a large company, that's something you hit all the time.
Well, thank you for your advice. There's probably a lot of young people watching who will be very jealous of your job and might want to get into your job at some point.
Well, thank you.
You enjoying your week here in New York City?
I am, yeah.
That's great. Two great cities, San Francisco and New York. You get
Yes.
to visit both.
I have not been here for 13 years, so it was nice to come back as an adult and see it.
It's wonderful to have you here. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
stopping by to share.
Thank you, Ed. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.